And it's so funny, like when you don't take the time to really evaluate your how, you kind of just keep going with your why, you forget the profitability points inside of your uniqueness. And that's what her asking me that started me on that journey of realizing that from day one, I always took into account my time and energy management. I would, and I still to this day, wake up every morning and go, okay, how did I sleep? How's my energy? What does my day look like today? How much time do I have to devote to my business? And then looking at my to-do list, I match the to-dos that honor the time and energy that I have in that day.
Hey there, and welcome to Money and You. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. My search for more fulfilling work led me to career and business coaching, where I stumbled upon a game-changing discovery. Money issues often start with our mindset and habits. You see, our relationship with money is the key to overcoming those frustrating financial obstacles. As an entrepreneur, coach, and problem solver, I'm passionate about helping you create a great relationship with money. Because, turns out, that's the foundation for a limit-free life. Each week on Money and You, I speak with amazing guests about all things money, mindset, practical tips, and everything in between. We're here to give you new insights, education, and empowerment so money can be one of your favorite relationships. So join us for some lively conversations and let's transform your financial life together. Hello, and welcome to the Money and You Show. Another wonderful episode we have in store for you today. And we have a little different look where we're doing some new things with the studio. And so today it looks a little different, I know, but it's going to be the same amazing show that we always have, still produced by ubngo.com. And so I am going to introduce you to somebody who's going to talk about something that we've never talked about on the show. So I'm super excited about that. And that is human design and how that factors into your business, your career, your money life, and everything else. So let me introduce you to today's guest. We have with us today international business and life guide Mel McSherry, who helps inspired yet overwhelmed entrepreneurs honor their lives and become the architects of their own success. Mel uses their spiritual gifts as well as their 15 plus years of business building experience to slash entrepreneurs' stress and bring their success to life. Using both human design in partnership with traditional business development tools, Mel coaches others on how they can connect to what they want, understand how they are designed to create what they want, and implement their strengths and strategies. So every day they're profitable mentally, emotionally, and financially. As an entrepreneur since 2010, Mel has launched 2 successful businesses, become a 2-time published author, spoken almost 200 times all over the U.S. and overseas, and created a true life by design, all while being the primary caregiver to their teenager son who was autistic. Mel, welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you are here. And so we had such a good conversation earlier, and I was just so excited to bring you in and have you share some of your knowledge with our audience. So can you just give us, because we haven't ever talked about human design, it's all coming back to me now that I had wanted to engage you a little on this for myself. And then, of course, I've got lifey and that didn't happen yet, but it will. So anyway, can you just give us well, first of all, a little background on how you even got to the place that you're doing what you do, and then a summary of what human design is about.
Absolutely. So my journey, which I'm sure is like many others, has been filled with many plot twists. Did not originally start as an entrepreneur to be in the business coaching industry, let alone utilizing spiritual tools. I actually started in the fitness industry. I was a certified personal trainer, and I did in-home trainings, outdoor boot camps, all the whole 9 yards. And when my son was born in 2011, it was just too difficult to travel to my clients' houses, to be, everywhere I needed to be. I was married at the time, but his father was on the road 75% of the year. So it's just one of those opportunities where I really needed to take a pause and reevaluate what I wanted. And that question is one of my favorites that I pose often to myself and to my clients is, what do I want? Because we typically don't take the time to really sit with that question. We keep pushing, we keep taking action, we keep moving forward, yada, yada, yada. And I'm a huge believer in the pause and taking that step to the side and really reevaluating. And so that actually came in the form of putting my business completely on hold, doing some online medical billing for my father's company. I was a VA for a couple of IT companies. And though that wasn't necessarily part of the big picture, I like to keep that part of my story out loud because we forget that sometimes we need to make decisions, especially when we need to alleviate some sort of financial stress that may not necessarily be aligned with the big picture, but it's going to fill that bucket so your mental and emotional health can, recover or catch up. And that's exactly what I needed as a new mom. So fast forward to 2013, I wanted to get back into the fitness industry and realized that I could move it to a virtual platform by partnering with a network marketing company called Beachbody. And it was one of those decisions where I really just wanted to be a coach. I didn't want to be the business builder. I didn't want to hey girl message anybody. I just wanted to be able to support people in their health goals. And with that pure intention, I got successful, quote unquote, rather quickly. I was very consistent in my sales. And that caught the attention of my leader at the time, who was like, look, you're this married single mom, as I coined myself. And yet you are consistent in your sales. Like, what are you doing differently? And it's so funny, like when you don't take the time to really evaluate your how, you kind of just keep going with your why, you forget the profitability points inside of your uniqueness. And that's what her asking me that started me on that journey of realizing that from day one, I always took into account my time and energy management. I would, and I still to this day, wake up every morning and go, okay, how did I sleep? How's my energy? What does my day look like today? How much time do I have to devote to my business? And then looking at my to-do list, I match the to-dos that honor the time and energy that I have in that day. And so that already gave me a lot of permission to play and how I got things done, to be okay with, oh yeah, I said I was going to do this first thing today. Well, just kidding. I'm going to do number 5, right? But it still all got done because it was honoring the time and energy that I had. And so by creating kind of a quick tutorial about that, she put it in her new coach boot camp. The team exploded. Fast forward a year later, we're in the top 1% of the company. I'm getting people who just want to be on a team with me, plus people in Beachbody wanting me to do team calls and trainings with their teams, friends in other networking marketing companies that wanted me to do team calls and trainings for them. It's now 2015. I've got one foot in this now business coaching world, the other foot in fitness. I'm in the middle of my divorce. I can't do the splits very well. So I was like, you know what? If there's a time to have another major plot twist, it's now. And through Beachbody, I was introduced to John C. Maxwell, who is one of the leading coaches in the industry. I've been there for decades. Had a year-long internship with him and his international leadership team. Got my coaching certification through them. Left Beachbody, started my coaching business in coaching in the business industry. And even that has developed. I started very traditional. I was very systematic. I had a lot of frameworks. I had a lot of foundations. I had a lot of, boundaries, so to speak. And then in 2020, I was at this very interesting crossroads in my business, and one that I've never heard of people really talk about, where on paper, I was crushing it, making 6 figures. As you mentioned, I've been paid to travel, like to speak. I was doing all these amazing things. Internally, I had never felt more inauthentic or disconnected to my business in my entire life. And I had no idea why. Like none whatsoever. I was doing all of the things. I was getting all of the successes. And the whole time, like, is this really it? Is this what success feels like? And so I went on a spiritual retreat, my first spiritual retreat in 2020. Unbeknownst to me, 2 weeks before lockdown here in Chicago, and we were in lockdown for a while. And one of the participants there was talking about human design. And so I went up, I looked at my chart, read my chart, and just sobbed. It was just everything that I didn't have the words for. Like it was the why behind my how. But the reason why I wasn't advocating for it is because I didn't know if it was actually true. Like we have a lot of these one-liners like, oh, it's just outside your comfort zone, or you just need to push past this. when really a lot of the things that I was putting into practice in my business, though again, financially, I was getting very much rewarded for, was slowly but surely burning me out beyond belief.
Wow.
And so it was that really beautiful validation and confirmation for myself to start rebuilding that trust that I don't think we're taught initially to have in ourselves and our businesses. We're taught to seek the expert, to copy and paste, to find the person who did it and just do what they did. And though that is it's advice, it's not exactly the Bible. Like it's not really how you can create what you want because you have a true profitability inside of your own uniqueness. And so it's finding how to customize it. And a lot of us don't know how to do that. And that's what human design shows you. So, human design is a combination of astrology, I Ching, Kabbalah, chakras, and quantum physics. So, it's that beautiful married between science and quote unquote spirituality, which were one and the same way back in the day and now
Mm.
have gotten separated. Um, and what it shows you is it's basically your energetic blueprint. So, how much energy you have, how much of it is natural, how much of it comes from others, what are your best processes for making decisions, what are your best strategies when it comes to implementing those decisions. It literally gives you every single foundational piece of information of the why behind your how. And it allows you to really build that confidence and trust in your process because it's your operations manual. It's everything that you need to know for yourself that you can start implementing and customizing what everybody else says around you. So, to use that now as my main tool to guide my clients, it's such a beautiful way to not only for me consistently connect with myself because I've been practicing it ever since 2020. It's also helped me show others just the profitability of who they are without any coercion, without any manipulation, just this here's you, here's how brilliant you are and why you are brilliant in these ways. Now let's take that confidence and start customizing all of those processes that you have in place to really ensuring that you are staying profitable mentally, emotionally, and financially.
Mm. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. And when you say staying profitable in those areas, how would you describe that a little further?
I describe it as the true way you can create sustainability as an entrepreneur or just as a human in general. We a lot of times we get caught up in those financial goals first. We make those the main priorities and the main focus and we just assume the mental and emotional is just going to magically follow. And to me, I flip that hierarchy. Whereas when you make mental and emotional profitability the first two and the financial that follows, you find those successful points every day. You're not waiting till you hit six figures. You're not waiting till you hit X amount of money. It's those, oh, I did this today. I feel like it's finding those glimmers that keep you motivated because as entrepreneurs, we're the only ones that are in charge of ourselves. And even for those who are entrepreneurs, those who are leaders, those even inside of the corporate world, you are still your own individual. You need to figure out what makes you tick and what makes you excited and sustainable. And that's what human design does is it shows you those profitability points every day. So you lean into those further. So when that financial follows, it's just duh. It's so fluid that you don't even it seems less of a struggle and just more of being present in the now.
Hmm. Oh, I love that. And you brought up such an important point because you can have the financial piece working for you.
Mhm.
Others are not. If you're emotionally and physically and everything else, if you're feeling um just drained, I would imagine that's sort of the opposite of being profitable in those areas.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. I mean, you can force it for a while, but this is where people eventually hit a wall and they're just unhappy and it affects everything. It's just, things with money affect all the rest of your life, your relationship, your
Absolutely.
health,
Yeah.
everything. So you can't just, I mean, as you said too, there are times in life when you may have to do things that are not your first choice, or take a job or whatever it is to get by for a period. And not only fine, kind of it's really important. It's valuable. It's
Yeah.
so, we have to flow with life, but in the bigger scheme of things, if you do have a bigger vision and you're
Mhm.
going for the bigger things in bigger successes in your life, it can't be just about money,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly. Because and money is beautiful. Like, heck yeah, like we all deserve it. We are worthy of it. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous thing. But where I think we just go too far is we do make it just that number one
Mhm,
focus.
mhm.
And when you get so hyper fixated on something like that, you start to manipulate how you make, like what you say yes to. You stop saying yes to things that could fill you up in other areas because it's not a paid event or it's not something you can get quote unquote paid from. And those are just as profitable as the ones you get actual money from because that's what creates that sustainability. So it is really understanding and honoring all three of those buckets and why all three of them are so important because one just spills into the other, which just spills into the other. And that's why I kind of like to put financial last because if you've got those other two just flowing over, then honestly, that it's just that feeling of like, oh yeah, then it just fills up kind of quote unquote on its own and has that feeling to it because you are so trusting of the process that it doesn't become this thing that you have to consistently figure out. You can just be in the moment.
Yeah, and it helps you to stay in the energetic space of having faith and knowing that the things that you want, will come to fruition. I mean, there's a lot of things behind the beliefs you have that fuel the other things too. So I think,
Yeah.
if your energy is drained, it's hard to be optimistic about things. It's hard to sometimes make the right choices. You make choices out of fear or doubt instead of
Yeah.
so yeah, that's and I love what you're saying about the human design aspect because I do know a lot of people who, of course, everybody's out there telling us the formula that we should
Right.
automatically going to work for us.
60K in 60 seconds and 5 steps. And
Yeah, and and usually the 5 steps are good, but
yeah,
also usually how that particular person figured it out for him or
exactly.
herself and doesn't necessarily work for you, and I do see a lot
Yeah.
of people copying what other people are doing. I tried to do it myself initially because that's how you start as an entrepreneur. You find other successful people who are doing what you do and try to do it.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think that it it doesn't necessarily work for you because it worked for somebody else. I mean, there are pieces and parts you can pull out, but
Absolutely.
can you give us an example, maybe a little case study of how somebody used the human design, or maybe or how you used it, but to sort of tweak what they're doing and make a difference in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my favorite case studies I've talked about is a client of mine I've been working with now for a little over 2 years. And when she first came to me, she had left corporate and HR. She'd been HR for over a decade and decided to start her own business coaching business. And first, it's kind of getting over that corporate, I like to call it corporate PTSD hump because there is that shock of, oh, I just thought I could just no, okay, sweet. Like that, there's a lot of things that happen to a person when they decide to leave corporate and become a solopreneur. And one of the things that she realized that she had been always fighting against. So within human design, there's 5 main energetic types. And she's one that's called a manifesting generator, which are the ones that are multi passionate, that literally can do 10 things at once beautifully and throw up when anybody says you should niche down. They're like, yeah. But so she always thought that there was something wrong with her because every time somebody would tell her just focus on one thing in this business, she'd be like, but I don't want to be known for that one thing because I have this over here and I have this over there. And I want to do an HR training, but I want to base it off of Sarah J. Maas ACOTAR books. Like she just had all these creative ideas that none of her former mentors would give her the space to play in because that wasn't traditional or that wasn't the way to do things. And she was getting so frustrated. So we had met on LinkedIn and she initially got one of my 90-minute human design readings. And one of my favorite things about those readings, those initial readings, is the way that my clients' shoulders just drop and they just go, oh, I knew it. Like that validation and confirmation. They're like, I'm not lazy. I'm not sporadic. I'm not XYZ. That, no, okay, so that's why that makes total sense. And when you get that validation, you can already see that self-trust starting to build. And so what we did first was once we had her initial reading is we looked at what was the first piece that jumped out at her that she wanted to shift, because it's always little things, right? Nobody works completely against their design. We all naturally work inside of it. We just go too far. So that first initial reevaluation was, okay, where have you gone too far? Or for in her case as a Manigen, not gone far enough. And it was the whole trying to do the traditional niching down, focus on one offer, one person, one thing. And when I started showing her that the profitability point for her is the through line in all of it, not the one thing, all of a sudden she was able to play in that space. Not only play, but again, play with that confidence of, because this is how I'm created. Like, yeah, of course I don't want to do this anymore because now my energy wants to be over here. So instead of being mad that my energy doesn't want to be here, I know that's part of who I am. So I'm gonna be like, cool, mastered everything over here. Let's go over here. And there's less guilt. There's less self-sabotage because she knows she's fluid inside of her design. And the way that her business has shifted in the last 2 years to something where she didn't hate it, but she wasn't familiar with it, to now every single bucket, every single energy shift she has, she goes with it. She enjoys it. She knows how to move through it profitably, is such a delight. Because again, that's what's creating that sustainability for yourself, is when you truly understand your energetic type and where you start and where you stop and how others can truly support you and vice versa. It does just create a whole new world, but one that you have full say in. And it's the coolest thing to watch.
I love that. That's so fascinating to me. And so, tell us a little about this assessment. How do you understand your own human design? I mean,
Sure. So my favorite link is called mybodygraph.com.
hmm,
And the reason why I like it is because you don't get spammed emails. They don't sell your information to third parties. It's actually created from one of the students of the person who brought human design forward. And what you need is your birth date, your birth time, and your birth location. And what that does is it will give you a chart. And when you look at it, you're going to be a little confused and probably a lot overwhelmed. But what are kind of the main beginning areas, if you want to go down a rabbit hole yourself, is your type. So again, that's one of 5 energetic types. After that, I typically tell people with that type comes a strategy. And then the next part to just really hone in on that trust is your authority, which is where you actually make decisions inside of your body and what that process looks like. Because when you start honing in even just those 3 things,
right.
granted, human design, I call it the ultimate onion of personal development. There are many layers. The person who brought it forward says it takes an average of 7 years for you to fully envelop it, which I love because it gives you that permission to just be intentional with it.
Yeah.
It's not 60 seconds. It's not here, learn these 5 things and you're amazing. It's your manual, but it's your manual to continue to customize and play in because it follows you throughout every single cycle of your life, every single layer that you clear off, that you bring forward, that you build to, all of those things. And it does give you it just gives you those boundaries and those strategies that are meant for you specifically. Yeah. So I would always say start off with those 3, because that does give you a little bit of that insight into, oh, oops, I went too far, or oh, I actually do this instead, and start shifting those little awarenesses.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. I'll put that link in the show notes. And yeah, I find it super fascinating. I love assessments. In career coaching, I would always have people do strengths finders, and I have
Yeah.
funny personality assessment that helps you understand, kind of your ingrained unconscious money beliefs. And obviously you're talking about one for human design. I think it is such a people there's always a light bulb that goes off with these assessments.
Always. Yeah.
Always. And, you do need somebody to walk you through it who understands it and has seen it, in a lot of
Hmm.
people, to, give it the depth and the ability really for people to integrate these ideas into their life. But I love what you said because there is no magic moment where all of a sudden, you're doing everything according to,
You
the
guys feel like that, but
yeah.
then you look back and go, oh no, that was 10 years of work. Great.
Yes, it is, and they're all like that, but they give you a starting point, and
Yes.
a path, to take, which I think for entrepreneurs is one of the hardest things. We just sort of throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall for a long time.
Absolutely. Or we don't even, again, even that initial question of what do I want? When people, we think we have to state those traditional wants. Like, oh, I want 6 figures. Do you?
Yeah.
Like, what? Why? What is why? Honestly. And it's those little things that make such a big difference. And I love that's one of the things that I always want to mention when I'm on podcasts about human design is yes, I love human design. And also there are a lot of amazing assessments out there. There's Enneagram, there's, all the personalities, there's Strength Finder, is to your point, DISC. I mean, there's so many things. And how I like to look at those is that a lot of those take kind of one section of your life or one category that you were looking for. And I like to kind of picture it as a lot of those are like the top of the iceberg, whereas human design is what's underneath. That's why you got the results the way that you did. And your human design never shifts. I know for myself before I think Enneagram was one of my first ones. And I did that years ago before I did any sort of personal development. And I was a 2, people pleaser, like whole 9 yards. And then I remember doing a lot of personal development, getting into other things and decided to retake it. And all of a sudden I was a 4. Like, oh, that's interesting. Human design doesn't change. That is just who you are foundationally. And when I layer that on top of my Enneagram results and my NTFJ, all the other different results, it's just all of the layers. And then the human design is, oh, okay, so that's why that shifted because I was actually reacting from this instead of receiving. So it just gives you that deeper understanding into why you got those results.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, you know, these are important things, to important tools that you really should use. I mean, it's fun to
Hmm.
think that you can just go it alone and, you understand yourself so well, which we all think at various points in our life, but we find out we really don't necessarily. But I mean, eh, people are, have more self-awareness than others, but it's so important. These are different perspectives and different vantage points that you probably haven't, been, uh you don't know about yourself, actually. So, or, it resonates with you when you take the assessment, but maybe it's not just in your present awareness, and it should be.
Yeah. It's that thing of like, oh, okay, cool. I knew that. And then nothing else afterwards. Like
Yeah.
there are some of those moments where it's like, great, I'm glad you got that validation. And there's always things for you to shift with it. And I think that's where a lot of these assessments, and especially with human design, I think that's where it's fallen short a little bit just in the fact of people getting to know it. Like human design has been around since the 70s, 60s, just started recently getting kind of, I like to say, Instagrammable popular, um, which is beautiful for me because talking about it, it comes with a little bit of familiarity. But what is becoming, I think, a little bit, I'm just going to say dangerous for lack of a better term, is the fact that they are making it too bite sized. Like they're just, oh, I'm this type. So I'm going to make all of my decisions off of this type. That's one of like 9 areas of your human design chart. Like, yes, that's great that you know this about your energy. However, even how you utilize that information, you personally, that is located in the other areas of your chart. And again, that's one thing that's another thing that I love is that it peels back the layer. So when you find the first thing, which is what I do with my clients, is okay, what was the first awareness that came forward? What's the first thing you want to shift? let's just start doing that first. Because as Brendan Burchard always says, it's the little things you do every day that make the biggest difference.
Right.
And then from there, when you get to these larger decisions, where again, let's go back to your blueprint. How are the best ways for you to find the information, to formalize this information, to start, implementing this information? And the whole goal is to where my clients can then go, oh, yep, no, I know exactly where to turn. I know in my library what chapter to turn to or what, area to go to, and to remind myself of this, that, and the other, and move on. Because as humans, we all need that. Even, again, I've practitioner for 5 years. I still have moments of, oh, oops, just kidding. Like, I'm still human in a human business with human relationships. And so it's gorgeous to constantly have that reminder for myself of, that's right. This is my most profitable action. That's why that feels the way it did. Got it. All right, let's try again.
Yeah, and I love that you keep referring to the word profitable, because so much of what we might spend our time with is not necessarily profitable. It's what we feel we should be doing. It's what we feel needs to get done.
Oh, the shoulds are crazy.
Shoulds are crazy. And our decision making, especially as entrepreneurs, gets clouded in the stuff that we feel we need to do. And we lose sight of the fact that a lot of what we do, there's the 80-20 rule, and so much of what we're doing is actually not moving us forward or not what leads to more profits. And so, we really do have to stop and take those pauses, like you said, and constantly be reevaluating and checking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to go back just for a minute to the question of what do you want? Because I love that so much. I think that's been like a really pivotal question for my business from career. I started doing career transition way at the beginning, and that was always the first question. People want to leave where they're at, or they've been forced to leave. But they mostly have been working hard and doing all the things that they need to do and taking care of their families, and have rarely taken a moment to stop and ask themselves what they want. So they are really lost usually. And so, for people listening who feel lost, and I hear it all the time, I'm just talking to somebody who's trying to figure out whether to continue with her nonprofit or to stop it because it's a lot of work and it hasn't, it's such a valuable, client, close to her heart endeavor, but she has other options. And so, to know what you want it's a really confusing place, because sometimes we just want a lot of things and then you have to pick and choose. Sometimes we have no idea what we want because we never bothered to really check in. We've been doing the shoulds.
Yeah. And even inside of that, like that question can be so small in regards to, okay, how do I want to feel today? Or what do I want to accomplish that would make me feel successful or satisfied or peaceful or what have you? And I think we do try to make it too big. I think we try to, what do I want? Okay, I got to have the 5-year plan. I hated that question. Anytime I got interviewed for what, I don't know. I know I want this job. Like, can we just start there and see how I go? So it is that of like, even inside of human design, helps you even understand how to explore that question and how to, because our systems naturally give us that pausing point. No matter what of the 5 types you are, you have a stopping point. You have a point to where your system is like, okay, time to celebrate, trying to reevaluate. And it's how that shows up and how that works is different per each type. But we have those pausing points naturally in our cycles. And what we try to do is we try to push past them because we think, oh, well, why all of a sudden do I not have any energy? I just got to keep pushing. Or hear me out. You've done everything that you can do now. So let's take a breath, step to the side and go, okay, what's working? Now what do I want? What's not working? Because we do get caught up in routines so easily where the shoulds just become part of our daily lives. And we don't take the time to stop that shoulding of just like, well, I should do this. Okay, well, that's the first red flag to me. Why? Why should you do this? What do you want to do instead? And the thing that I love to do with human design is show them why what they want is really how they're supposed to do it, and to prove themselves to themselves. Like, especially my clients who don't want to be part of social media. No, but I should be on social media because that's how I get business. Well, no, actually, because in your chart, you're what's called an opportunist, which means all of your best opportunities come from meeting people. So therefore, networking. And how you network. You might have a low energy type. So then it's virtual coffees. It's things that honor your low energetic field. So again, those pieces of how you can then customize your path to success. It's all it seems like, well, no, the shoulds are gone because I know exactly what I want. I know exactly where to find the support that I need when I get a little bit confused or cloudy or overwhelmed. To that, oh no, here's me again. Hi, me. How are you? Let's go back to the beginning.
That's great. That is great. And as you were talking, I was thinking, um, it's the shoulds, but it's also kind of the self-talk that is telling us, well, I have to. I have
Mm-hmm.
because, or there are a lot of these sort of negative messages that kind of indicate that people feel trapped.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to understand that when you feel that way, when you feel like I have no choice, this is just my life, you are even more resistant to that question of what do you want. It almost makes you angry because like, well, if I can do what I want, I'd be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And in human design, that's called your not self. And there's actually, so one of the layers in human design is your centers, which are located over 9 different chakras in your system. And those centers are where you receive and where you, what's the word I'm looking for? How to develop your information. And when we say not self in human design, that is typically because we have these stories that come from these undefined centers that aren't meant to have a voice. They're meant to just receive energy from and then move it to a defined center. But we tend to react from them. And I know for me, that was my biggest WTF moment when I looked at my chart of, oh, that's where that story came from. That's why that story is so loud. Okay, that's my not self talking. Here are some questions in human design. Provide some check-in questions for you of, am I trying to be seen and heard? Am I trying to am I trying to solve everybody's problems? Am I trying to prove my worth? And when you say yes, yes, and yes, you go, okay, then I'm not making decisions from the correct spaces. So let's go to my authority, which for me, I'm an emotional, which means I have to sleep on it. I should not make any decisions when I'm in any emotional state, whether high or low or anything else. I need to wait till I'm a little bit more even keeled and have the information. But it is that like, okay, how do I ride this emotional wave? How do I call out lovingly, knowing that those stories are coming from places that have no foundation and come back from a place of foundational knowledge of myself?
Wow, I love that. And that immediately made me think our relationship with money is so crucial to how we make decisions. And what you're talking
Mhm.
about would contribute so beautifully to how we make financial decisions as well as
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm just thinking, when you were saying I have to sleep on it and I can't, there are so many people who are overreactive with money.
Mhm.
And sometimes for some people that would work, and for other people it would result in a kind of maybe misguided decision. So I love the uh how applicable this is to how you make your financial decisions. Um I don't know if you've run into anything where you can specifically, we only have a couple minutes left, I'm afraid, but any money story that you can think of where this came into play and helped someone make some financial decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they I'm like now the stories are kind of they run the gamut. Um, but probably if I was going to go with one for myself, and I'll kind of do a case study of how I used to make decisions before human design and how I make decisions now. So before human design, as I mentioned earlier, I was very much that copy and paste student, like just find the expert. And I found her and she was amazing and she was very expensive.
Mhm.
And I thought if I don't hop on her now, I'm going to miss out. I'm going to be in the same, those guilt factors. Not
Yeah.
that she was putting that on me, but that's the story that was in my head of, oh, I'm
Right.
not going to get any further in life if I don't invest now. And so without sleeping on it, because I was taught if it's a full body hell yes, it's a hell yes.
Yeah.
Well, it felt like a full body hell yes. So I said yes. And I ended up spending, roughly 50K on her over the 2 years that I was with her. And though she was giving me really good foundational points, again, she was amazing.
Mhm.
Because I didn't know myself, I was taking them too far. And then I got in the routine of just staying with her because then I didn't want to disappoint her. And on paper, I was doing well. So it's a me problem. So let me just keep investing in her and I will find what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Whereas now, when I have people approach me or when I get excited about a profitable opportunity, whether that's me investing in somebody or even saying yes to a speaking event or even podcasts that I've been offered to be on, I sleep on it. I ask myself certain questions. I get some more information. And I always remind myself and I remind my clients as well that you never miss out on anything that is meant for you, ever.
That's great.
Yes, the universe will provide you with a lot of things, but what the universe does not do is prioritize it for yourself. That's your job. So when you have that foundational understanding of how you can take the time to evaluate where this opportunity is actually going to fall into place, then you're not scrambling. You're not constantly jumping from here to there to there. And again, this is me as an emotional authority. There are other authorities that would make that decision differently. I just want to preface that.
Yeah.
But if you feel that you're listening going, yeah, I do need to sleep on it, then I'm giving you full permission to just stick to that because it is true when you react from an emotional state, it never lands the way that you want it to. And then it just becomes this perpetual cycle of, well, now I got to do this. Well, now I got to do this. And so when it comes to financial decisions, not only does it help you really ensure that you are making the most profitable ones for yourself, again, mentally, emotionally, and financially, it's also giving you that pausing point to reevaluate where that priority actually does lie. And are you ready for it? Because it's okay if you're not. It's then a not. When I am ready, I know this opportunity is here. I know this is the person I can talk to. Brilliant. And then you progress from there. But it gives you more of that confidence of what are your best decision-making processes. And when especially it is something that is bigger, it gives you that operations manual of you know exactly what to do to make that profitable decision every single time. And even if it doesn't turn out, quote unquote, the way that you want it to, it was still the best decision you made at the point at that information you had at that time. Now you have new information. So let's go back to that operations manual good and let's put it back into the system and now see where that takes you.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. And just as an add-on to the sleeping on it, it's always good to ask yourself a question before you go to sleep about that to try to elicit an answer sort of, while you're sleeping. And
Yeah, soundboard it, like talk to your plant or your dog or your partner or whomever, like, yeah, get it out of your brain and I always say, let the glitter settle, let it settle as you're sleeping. And then when whether it's that morning or throughout the day, you will receive that clarity and it will feel like, oh, there it is. Okay, now I feel better.
yeah, and we'll end on that word clarity because I think what you're talking about is helping you to have so much more clarity around yourself, your blueprint, your path forward, what you want, and all of that. Clarity is everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Mel, thank you so much. This was
Thank
such a great
you.
conversation. Can you tell people how to connect with you?
Absolutely. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Mel McSherry, or on Instagram at Mel_McSherry. If this has sparked some ideas and you want to save space to soundboard, I love offering 30-minute complimentary virtual coffees with me to do exactly that. No pressure, just space held. And you can book one of those at virtualcoffeewithmel.com or check out my readings at melmcsherry.com.
Very nice. Thank you. And again, thank you so much for joining me today. And I just loved having you on. And I'll be sure and share the show so people can find out about you and learn more about what you're doing, which is great work. So thank you for doing it. Uh,
Thank you.
And audience, thank you so much for being here with the Money and You Show. We love it when you watch the show, and we would love it if you would share it with your friends who you think might benefit from it. And if you can rate and review it, that helps us to bring wonderful guests like Mel to our platform and just keep help us to keep growing. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.